Well, good morning, darlings. I've been looking at my lips lately. You guys ever stare at yourselves and notice that you favor one side? Like one side goes higher than the other, and then you start to think you're like dying of a stroke or something. But supposedly everyone does that. I've noticed that I favor my left side. Is that right? Something to think about. How is everybody? How is everybody? I thought I would get on and have a morning coffee talk. Coffee, coffee, coffee. You know, I'm that type of a girl. I woke up this morning, I read the news. I had been doing a meditation. Try to get you guys the news. When does the energy start to come into the field? Usually about 3 weeks. Before it starts to show up. Yeah. Hi, everybody. So, Spirit said they were going to take Crimea, and they were planning a ground invasion on the 17th. So I thought, well, gosh darn it. We want to see that. I know, seriously, joking aside, I do hope people will leave Crimea. Don't be a hero. You know, who wants to be in the middle of something like that? People had asked me about Prince William. What was the shame that he was going to be exposed? I think the fact that everything was linked back to Prince William's assistant, that the harassing, it's become increasingly obvious that this harassment has come from William and only William, and that the rest of the family feels that they have gotten pulled into it, and that William's behavior is very destructive. And now uh, I think that that is the thing that William was most afraid of. He's very concerned about how he looks on the outside to other people, Prince William, and this idea that everything is linked back to his person was for him extremely embarrassing. And that's the thing I think more than anything he wants to cover up. Mm-hmm. Rise and shine to all of you, and good afternoon. This is a nice time to come on because we get both the Europe crowd. We have A.W. Peterson in Kiel, Germany. I don't know what the weather is like in Europe. I'm thinking of going to Ireland in the summer just to get away from the heat. What do you guys think? Tickets in August are $600. Let's say we Airbnb it and get the heck out of here. Let's go to Ireland, folks. Meet you there in August. What do you say? August, Ireland? Who wants to go? We're talking frugal living here. Backpacking capsule hotels, 2-star, 3-star, eating roadkill. Okay, maybe not eating roadkill, but we're talking about Ireland for maybe 9 to 10 days. I might try and see Wales and Scotland also. I might do some train. I don't know how long. And try and keep it frugal. You can take buses, and there's a boat that goes on the Irish Sea. That might be fun. Takes you to where? Scotland? Northern England? Maybe I should do that. Yeah? What do you say? Or should I just do Ireland and not try and see? The problem is I always try to do too much, and then all I do is run from train to train. Maybe I should just do Ireland. Connect to Ireland. I'm not a big drinker, so I know it's a big pub culture. Excuse me. I will not be able to get through one beer. Um, well, They have fairy walks. You can go and look for fairies. Magical Ireland. Does that sound like fun? Hmm. How about Dubai? Now, the Middle Eastern countries, you have to go in the winter, right? So if you're going to do, that's a great week trip. You fly to Dubai, you come home. Just spend a few days there. But when you're in Dubai, you can fly anywhere in the Middle East for like peanuts. So you could do 3-4 days in Dubai, then fly to Cairo and do a 3-day tour of Cairo set up by your hotel for very little money, and then fly back to Dubai for a night and then fly home. So you could do all of that for 8 or 9 days. Dubai. Excuse me. You don't need to. I don't think you need. Excuse me. I got one of my cat's hairs in my throat. No wonder. I'm sorry, you guys. She rubs against this thing. Anyway. I love my cat. Yeah, so I wouldn't want to be in Cairo for more than a couple days anyway. I might have an evening to get my sea legs, have dinner. You want to be really careful when you're there. I wouldn't go out without a tour guide. And I would maybe do a Nile dinner, see the pyramids, and maybe a couple museums and go home. I would maybe be 3-4 days there and go home. That's it. And I think that would be a safe trip, particularly if you're a woman by yourself and you want to go to Egypt safely. It's very safe if you are taking control of things, which is that, you have the hotel pick you up and you have the hotel arrange your tours. If you do something like that, you'll be fine. Or I go to Travelocity and I find the best tours that are going to pick you up at your hotel that are safe. But you don't want to be walking around by yourself in Cairo alone. You might be okay, but you might not. Oh, you're having breakfast? Well, good morning, Janice from Canada. What is kind of coffee is everybody drinking? Let's just get this talk started. It's coffee talk. I am your Jewess of the morning, hosting this coffee talk. How you doing? L'chaim. So new. Let's get to the basics. What kind of coffee are you drinking? I want to let you know I'm having Pete's, no extra flavor. No, I do not do flavorings. I think it tastes like chemicals. I know you can do it natural. There are so many. You know what you could do? You could take some vanilla and you could just pack it with your beans, and that can give it a natural vanilla flavor. But you know what? It's just not for me. It's not for me. I like to get straight up. Dunkin' Donuts voted some of the best coffee. What about 7-Eleven? 7-Eleven also voted a good coffee. Oh, you're going to Portland, Jiggy. Oh, stay in touch. Let me know if you're around. Maybe we can hang out. Who's putting it together? The Healing Energies weekend. Wow. Really? I should be there. Why don't I know anything about this? Jiggy, communicate with me. Jiggy, baby. Aren't you getting your teaching certification? Did you get your teaching? Why do I vaguely think you're getting a teaching certification? I just got that hair out of my mouth. Wow. Um, okay, so let's talk travel. Now that we've got our coffee, let's talk travel. Who here does not wants to travel, but you cannot travel because you're just not feeling well? You don't feel good about, you just, I don't want to leave my home. I love the concept of travel. I want you to know you don't have to travel. You can travel through YouTube videos, and the best videos are the ones where they do everything in their power to make you feel as if you're right there with them. And I think that that is the best way to travel. If you don't, it's like, man, who wants to leave your home, etc. And that is my biggest challenge with travel. But at the same time, I'm 61 years old, and I'm thinking to myself, if I don't do it now, when will I do it? So I think I'm 10, 11 days, no, 12 days, maybe it's longer, 12, 13 days in Japan. I'll be leaving next week. Love Japan. We'll be in Hokkaido, so we'll be up in the north, as it is getting a little warmer. And then when I come back, I'm thinking of taking a trip. If it gets too warm in August, and if I can financially afford it, I might take a trip to Ireland and just, see Dublin and see, and then you can take buses and trains around Ireland and see the other parts of Ireland. You don't need a car, which I wouldn't even try and have a car. Oh, we're thinking of taking a Japanese ferry. Yeah, we're thinking of that. If you have gluten and lactose allergies, you'll be fine in Japan because there's a lot of people with Asia is a good bet because there's a lot of people with those allergies that just stick to rice and they can't do dairy. Cambodia would be good, Vietnam, Laos, Thailand. There's plenty of places where you can travel. Israel would be good because they're very conscientious about diet. I think you could travel. Yeah, you'll be okay. Gluten and lactose, that would be a bit of a challenge. Yeah. I went to Portugal and I thought it would be okay in October, but it turned out that it was still a little bit too hot. I really was surprised at how hot Portugal was in October. It is Friday, and actually, we're teaching tonight at 6 p.m. Yeah. Your parents said no to high school in Israel, you would have had a great time and made friends for life. And the food is good. Sometimes I miss Israel so much, I have dreams of the hummus. Got this errant hair. You ever have that where it drives you crazy? It's just like one errant hair. Anyway. Yeah. Excuse me. It looks like the New York Times has an article about how COVID comes from a lab. And I think that there's some, of course, it comes from a lab. That's one of the reasons why there's a lot of reasons why people are in trouble. Oh, speaking of, hi, Joel, and also the Philippines. I might go to the Philippines. I like, that frugal channel, what's it called? Frugal travel. This thing is driving me nuts. Did I get it? I'm going to go and pluck it afterward. What you see is what you get here. I'm just a crazy psychic Jewish lady. I could just, There's no surprises here. Whimsy, don't you want to be a mysterious oracle? Not really. No, no, there's no mystery to my oracle. My oracle retains no mystery. What you see is what you get, honey. Oh my gosh, I think we need to do the empath prayer. If you're leaving my house after Trump, you know what? Fight against agoraphobia. I went through agoraphobia a little bit the last couple months, and I'm done with it. And now I force myself to go outside every day, you know, move it or lose it. The Philippines is very hot. Yeah, so I'll have to figure out when to go when it's not so hot. And then I know they have monsoons and get it, Wims. Joe Salvatore. Ah, I give up. Oh, it's not getting. Tony Salvatore is funny. Okay, let's do the empath prayer. All right. I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and our good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love, but also to help those that we may have strife with. And together, collectively, as a community, we say, Amen. Yes, 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 yes. These are wise, wise things we pray for. Okay, so first up is New York Times has an article out today. They're saying that the origin of COVID may be an animal lab. Let's see what the consequences of all of this is going to be, because I think the data, just as somebody who looks at science, I think it's pretty irrefutable that it does come from the lab. So instead of asking, does it come from the lab, I really want to see, is China going to have to pay some? Look, China killed how many millions of people? So, yeah. Let's take a look. What? I mean, like, should you be able to kill a bunch of people? That's the other thing you have to ask yourself. You know, should there be no consequences for that kind of a lab leak? What should the consequences be? All right. There's a huge changes that are coming in the future to make sure that these types of leaks never happen again. So the good news is that what came from the leak is assurances that it will never happen again. You have death, but you had the major transformation, Six of Wands. It also COVID and theft of various different patents, etc. There was a lot of reasons why our relationship with China went sour. But I would say things are headed in a very good direction overall in terms of public health with the Six of Wands. But we have real people in the White House now that understand public health, understand the CDC is sharing information and getting its information from the World Health Organization. The World Health Organization is a body of the United Nations that monitors global health trends so that we can get information as quickly as possible in the event of a pandemic. So there are and the CDC is supposed to take that data and share it with the necessary bodies. So I think people are also just really confused about who's who and what's what, right? Health is good. Strength card with the Five of Swords leads me to think that we have conquered the issue of COVID. I really see us building something new, which is going to protect us from COVID in the future. and from these kinds of diseases in the future. We have a strong presidency, 3 of Pentacles with the Emperor. And look at all this scholarship. 10 of Cups. We're also working very closely with Chinese scientists going forward. It's like there's this chill coming where business may be renewed with China. You can see here, after a freeze, we could be having new beginnings with China. We also see wealth over the United States. Yes, China will have to pay some type of restitution going forward. They can't continue to be hostile and antagonistic. They have to acknowledge what they did and work with the international community, particularly with the World Health Organization, to try and make sure their scientists need to be upfront, and they need to make sure this never happens again. And it needs to be a global effort that any biolabs have to follow certain guidelines. So the outcome for us was the Empress, which is the treasure trove that ever overflows, right? So we think about wealth when we think of the Empress. We think about abundance. I opened this earlier, it blew up. I think that what we are seeing right now is the end of war. We are entering into a time which is the end of war. And the reason why I say that is because the UN Security Council approved the ceasefire. Israel approved the ceasefire. It was only Hamas that said, well, we don't want to leave. We like it here, because phase 2, they'll have to leave. But same is happening in Ukraine. We're seeing Russia pulling out of Ukraine. They're pulling back into, well, they're actually going to Russia, but it's not over because they're actually being bombed in Russia. Why do you think that Ukraine, they've left? I mean, Russia is literally pulling out, but why are we still bombing in Russia? Does anybody want to conquer that? Like, why is the West hitting Russia if Russia is leaving Crimea? Joel, what do you think? What do you think's going on here, Joel? Is that it? Are they leaving? They limp out to Cuba with their meager remains of an army, Navy, to try and intimidate us. Is he so crazy that he's going to shoot nuclear weapons at Miami? I think he is that crazy, because look at what he did in Ukraine. He attacked Ukraine. Oh, it was just a military exercise. I think we need to take him very seriously. I think the man's completely Fruit Loops. And because he said he was going to do it, give me my trade route or I'm going to nuke you. He told us from the very beginning. So at this point, I wouldn't, and I didn't want to believe, oh no, he's not going to attack Ukraine. Yes, he did, just like he said he was going to. So my advice at this point is to take this guy seriously and get him out of there as soon as possible. I don't think he's rational, clearly. And I think part of the reason was that he was egged on by his church. But it does feel to me energetically like we're moving towards peace, that we have cut off the enemy. Let's take a look and see about, I just want to see what's going on in Ukraine from the Ukrainian perspective, because I think they are going to take Crimea this month. Wow, is that crazy? Can you believe it? Cray cray. Yeah. I keep seeing the 17th. Supposedly Belgorod is the new place they're stationing their stuff because they can't protect it in Crimea. They're too vulnerable. So they moved everything over to Belgorod, but that's not going to help them either because Belgorod is getting blitzed. So they were tricked in a way by Ukraine because they said, Crimea is vulnerable. We're going to get a ground invasion in Crimea. Of course NATO's coming into Crimea. They've been in Ukraine, special forces, and now France. It was rope-a-dope. Of course NATO's going to Ukraine and is going to Crimea. So what does he do? He goes to Belgorod. He says, we got to go to Belgorod. Well, that was a trick. Because what happened? They all ran to Belgorod. They were surrounded in Belgorod, and now they're getting bombed they're getting slaughtered in Belgorod. They can't even run to Moscow because they have their air defense has been wiped out and they're being bombed in Moscow. So what's the takeaway from all of this? The takeaway from all of this is what goes around and comes around. And for every aggressive act, there's a reaction of equal or greater force. So don't be aggressive. If you're going to be aggressive, there will be an equal response against you, or it's going to be greater. Those are your odds. If you punch someone in the face, they're going to punch you back with equal pain, or it's going to be even worse. So what's the takeaway? I mean, it kind of makes me think about like that whole turn the other cheek, that it's not saying don't defend yourself. It's saying think about the consequences, because if you punch this lunatic, you could be creating a very serious situation. There are ways to contain people without escalating the violence. It doesn't mean you don't contain the violence. It means don't escalate it. And I think that's really true here because Putin has really created a situation now where they could very likely take control they will likely march on Moscow. I don't see him in control of the Duma. I don't see the Russians in control. This is at a point where we're looking at the West coming in and establishing a new Russia. You have this partnership coming in, and then the hoarding card, which is interesting. So it's almost as if the West takes over Russia. The weapons of war will be taken away. I knew this was going to happen. This is what I mean when you can just step back and look at things unemotionally and just say, well, he's going to have an aggressive act like that. This is going to be the reaction. They're going to dismantle him. They're going to march on Moscow. Sure enough, it didn't happen overnight, but for every action, there's a reaction. And in this case, equal or greater force. They came in, they took the weapons away from him. Their delay was their hands were tied. Well, we all know their hands were tied. Their hands were tied by GOP. This should have happened sooner. The Wheel of Fortune. The GOP has done the same. Just like the conservative Likud in Israel didn't want a ceasefire, right? They wanted to keep things going. Rather than lure Hamas out. The longer you keep the fighting going, the more Hamas fighters will keep being drawn to the fight. That's where the fight is, and we want to fight. So as long as there's a fight there, we're going to keep on coming. So you just have an endless amount of fighters, right? But if you lure them somewhere else, no, the fight's not here. It's over in Algeria. You got to go to Algeria. Figuring out ways to lure people away or to diffuse. That's more Taekwondo and that's more Tai Chi, right? You'd want to diffuse and turn it to another direction. Transform it. Being wise with our adversaries is something that's been coming up a lot. This idea, it almost has a kind of Eastern or martial arts aspect in the sense that they did use his energy against him. He was a theft. The theft already happened. They took so much stuff from those churches. Oh my God. Armistice is coming very soon. 3 of Cups. He does not have the money to maintain the war, but he is irrational at this point, and I think we need to be very concerned about the nuclear threat. I keep seeing a drug alcohol problem with Putin, and this may be one. Declining health, declining mental faculties, and a past history a past history of drug or alcohol abuse, possibly heroin or some kind of injectables. Putin is now saying that he's now screaming that everybody should get out of Europe, that he's about to drop an atomic bomb on all of, he's going to release a dirty bomb by dropping Zaporizhzhia. Supposedly he loaded Zaporizhzhia up with a bunch of bombs and they can detonate it. So this is the level of emotionalism we're dealing with. 10 of Cups, again, would be a good omen for us. The opposition is looking for ways. You can't keep firing and then killing all of your leaders in the hopes that they're gonna tell you something different. The devil. People think that they are on a godly path. Like he kept giving the church fed his ego. Yes, you're the chosen one. And we're going to spread the church to the four corners of the earth and everyone will be bowing in Moscow. The lights of Moscow will be across the world and everyone will look to Moscow as the shining city on the hill will be Moscow. And you shall be the new Messiah, the new Tsar of the world who brings the true church to the world. And they're egging him on because it benefits them. And the criminals are coming, stealing everything. But it's okay. We're forgiven because we gave part of it to the church. Right? So this kind of drug addiction, delusions, false teachings of a church. I see the international courts are coming in, and I see long-winded international trials against Russian generals will be tried. You can see here comes the courts. They don't really have anything to say for themselves. If Shogu or anybody else gets captured, they're going to be completely confused and just say, we were told to take Ukraine because of Nazis. I mean, what are they going to say? Moon and devil, they were completely out to lunch. It's like a cult. Putin is a cult. They have a cult following, just like Trump. This idea of creating a cult, and then you can get other people to follow you. Just like the praise singers of Odysseus in the Odyssey. It's all the same kind of cray-cray, this, yeah. Alcohol makes Wendy sick. Yeah, me too. But once in a while, if I'm having fish and chips, I might have an ale with it. I won't be able to finish the ale, but I'll drink like 2/3 of it. Yeah. Janice doesn't like to travel. She lived in her car for 5 years. I'm armchair travel with videos. That's a great suggestion, Janice. Is the armchair videos. And the other thing is that you can always make the food at home. Like if they're eating rice, like I was watching the Philippine videos and they were doing rice with tofu and peppers and stuff. And I was thinking, I could make this. And so I would actually make those dishes while I watched it, and then I really felt like I was having the experience. Yeah. So, Joel Tilson used to live in he was in the United States Air Force, and he was actually out of the U.S. for 10 years. Is that where you found your wife? You met your wife when you were traveling? Lead a trip to Israel. Oh my gosh. You guys would have so much fun if you came on a trip with me to Israel but you'd all have to have your own private rooms because once you start eating, if we eat as much hummus as I like, it causes a lot of gas. But Yeah, I would take you to the best hummus places. I'd take you to the food places, the food stalls, the cheap food stalls with some homemade lady in the back cooking homemade Sephardic food, and yeah, it's good stuff. Ooh, so Best Predictions talks about Peru. You know, I have not been to South America. That might be I have well, I've been to Australia, so I've been on the other side, but of the globe. But, yeah. Old Silver is talking about some of the nice stuff that they have over in, Japan. Yeah, the fruits and, yeah. Do you ever see Charlemagne? She's getting married to, uh, Chris. Is that his name? Yes, well, I used to date a guy whose name was Chris, and he looks just like Chris from, uh oh, what's his name? Chris Beard? No, it's Chris what's it called? Abroad. Chris Broad. Is that his name? Is the name of it? Yeah, it's a really good show. Also does a show. I think they're already married now. Is that right? They're a very sweet couple. Do we think that there are going to be riots? Riots where? There's always news. The Russian stock is down 50%. Yeah, it's finished. Well, I can't imagine how we can come back from a ground invasion of Crimea that they're scheduling for the 17th. I mean, and they must have been confident because how would we have gotten the dates? And it looks like it turned out to be true because they're already hitting Crimea and and the Russians found out and are starting to evacuate. So it must be true. So the question is, like, how was the West that confident? Oh, we are planning to go in on the 17th. They must have been confident because they knew they had wiped out his air defense, etc. So they must have known. They must be fairly confident. If I get a hard date like that, and then I can go on the line and say, this is what's going on, expect an attempt to take Crimea, expect something like a D-Day on June 17th, be out by the 15th, and then we start to see it a couple weeks later, then we can assume it was an accurate hit. And then at that point, if you're listening to this and you're in Crimea, you really need to get the hell out because the military is leaving. I try to get accurate dates for a number of reasons. First off, because I like to use this as evidence to support HCRV, but also because sometimes people are listening and they're like, you know what, that crazy, she's insane, but she's shockingly accurate. I'm getting out of here. Like, it's okay if I want people to think I'm insane because insane keeps you safe. Think of insanity as a defense system. If people think that the old lady is crazy, that's going to be more powerful than any weapon I could be carrying, right? See, if you are an old lady who is not particularly violent and you don't carry weapons, fear of your insanity is your weapon. And so many women pretend to be insane in order to stave off aggressive behavior. And so one of the things that mental health practitioners have to determine is this individual truly insane, or is this person simply acting out a behavior because they knew it would repel other people? How's that for a deep meditation? Are you truly crazy, or did you just start acting crazy because you knew it would scare people off? So that's the old lady cackling. And have you worked on your cackle? Well, let's hear your cackle. These are all, I think that I should do a mystery school where I teach senior women things like cackling and how to wear all black. Mess up your hair. There's a certain way. There's no girls. There's a certain way you have to rat the hair to look effectively insane. And you can get more benefits too. And then the way you have to cackle, scaring. And it's better if you go out late at night because the dog, well, you don't want to scare the dogs. You want to feed the dogs. So that would also, well, homeless dogs, you want to save the animals. So that would actually add to the mystery of you being crazy, would be the ratted hair, the screaming, the cackling, and then hordes of dogs following you. That would be, and cats and squirrels and maybe lost pigs in the woods. I don't know. But sometimes crazy is a good thing. You're crazy. Yes, I'm crazy. And you want to get away from me, don't you? You want to get so far away from me because I'm crazy. Do you know how I learned that? I learned that from Diane Ross. Your crazy is going to scare him. Your crazy is bigger than his crazy. What was that movie where she acts crazy? She's afraid she's going to get attacked by that guy that's following her. Mahogany. Yeah. And then she turns around and starts cackling and acting crazy. And then the guy that's stalking her says, "She, you be crazy." And he runs away from her. She crazy. I'm crazy. I'm a crazy mama. I'm making gingerbread. Would you like to come over? It's vegan. It's highly nutritious. No, seriously, come for dinner. It's very nice. Yeah, you could really. Do we think that a Russian coup is coming? Oh my gosh, Joel. I think he's been killing everybody that he's, well, do you think he doesn't know? Do you think? Let's look at it from Putin's perspective. Let's look at it from Boo Boo's perspective. Poor Putin, they hate him. I feel like I'm stoned this morning. I think it's because, I haven't finished my coffee and I've got that kind of, it's only 8 a.m. over here. I'm like, all right, the Russian coup. They're starting something. They're building something. They uncovered missing money. This is so bad. For the good of the country, they're going to have to deal with they are questioning the choices of their leader, and they think he might be insane and that he will lead them to complete poverty. He's like Caligula or Nero. I mean, he fiddles while Rome burns. He's just off in his own world. There's evidence of a theft coming, questions of the emperor's sanity. Look at Russia, poverty. The problem is he demanded loyalty, and loyalty is even more important than Mother Russia. Mother Russia is burning. Shit, they're coming in. I'm telling you guys, look. Russia burning. There's Moscow. Look, you guys. Final outcome, the Knight of Wands, the war knight who moves in. Damn, I wish she had come to me for a tarot reading. I would have charged him $85. You see what I'm saying? You know how much money I could have saved him? Money, misery, all the people that would not be dead right now. What a steal. $85. Oh, 100%. I have no doubt. No, no, the West is going to Moscow. They're complete. Yeah, his opposition. I mean, they're taking control of the money. It's so over. Where his karma. It was his karma. What I believe in free choice. I do. This whole thing that we have no choice, and he had a conscious choice to go into Ukraine, and the heads of the church had a conscious choice to dissuade him, and instead they egged on this war. They are just as responsible. The Russian Orthodox Church was very much involved in this, and that's unfortunate. The banks are collapsing. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, Mahogany was a great movie. I thought she was so beautiful in that movie. I mean, she was just stunning in that movie. And I had such a huge a crush on Billy D. Williams, and I was dating a guy that looked just like Billy D. Williams. And yeah, I thought that was just a really good movie. Okay, people riot all over. Yes, people are rioting all over. I don't think that they're going to be able to keep down I think the CIA is very much encouraging revolution or uh, um, an Arab Spring revolt, maybe this summer. A hot summer? Let's take a look. Negotiations are happening right now in Egypt for Israel and Egypt to share watching the border because of the weapons smuggling. And so that's probably going to happen, just to which is not the same as occupying the whole country or anything. It's just making sure that they have dual. There's some kind of international body making sure terrorists can't get in, so that the people can get on with their lives. But let's see about rioting. There's a clampdown. There's a clampdown in places like Iran. They knew after Raisi died that there would be rioting in the streets. You can see this huge clampdown, 9 of Wands. The opposition confused about what to do. Sober time, a time of judgment. You can't continue just arresting people. Trying to control civil unrest everywhere. Yeah. People being arrested, clamped down, revolution, heartbreak, fighting, putting an end to it. You know, if you look at pure logic, though, if you just put emotion aside and ask yourself, you know, if you're a person that doesn't have any emotion attached and just stepped back and looked at the situation without any emotion and said, how do we save lives? What do we do in order to reduce the number of deaths? Like if I were to go to a computer and say, computer, help me calculate the least number of deaths, how would we do that? You would wind up with something like this, because people get emotional, and this is one of the great things about a computer, is that a computer is not emotional and in the ways that a human being is emotional. And so a computer can let me see if I can make this larger. Oh, that actually made it smaller. So, oh, maybe I can do it this way, view. Oh, I can do a zoom in, of course. Jeez. So I've shown this a couple of times to people, but it's fun to look at because it gives you a window into human beings and how we can get so pulled into something because, well, I feel this or I feel that, or I'm having an emotional crisis right now, or I need to talk. Well, what about what's fair? And those are all emotional responses to being in a horrible situation. But if you can just put emotion aside, step back and say, how do we keep people from dying? How do we keep people from dying? It's a it's 5 phases. And every time you go back and say, well, is there any way we can avoid dismantling Iranian leadership? The answer is no. It's simply, if they are hell bent on spending 60 million to destroy Israel, then, and if Putin is hell bent on occupying Ukraine, you really don't have, the pure math would say remove them. They must be removed from the equation. If Saudi Arabia is being visited by Ibrahim Raisi, who's saying, hey, you better not sign the Abraham Accords with Israel because you're messing with our trade. And if you do that, you need to pay us a piece of the pie, man. If we pay them a piece of the pie, what happens? They get bigger and badder and they have bigger and badder weapons. It's a kind of extortion, isn't it? So the other thing that the computer says is you can't pay Russia extortion money to Russia and Iran not to kill or destroy Israel because it's only going to pacify them for 2 or 3 years, and then it won't stop them in their pursuit. It'll only delay them in their pursuit and build them up militarily. So how can we get to giving people just the data without the emotion? Now, this kind of data isn't necessarily what people want to hear, but that's objective reality. If you don't want people to die, these are the 5 phases. I added a 6th, but it's really not necessary, the 6th, if you dismantle Iranian leadership. So that's the main thing I like about being a remote viewer and using HCRV is that it can help me get to pure math and what is the math of how to keep people from dying versus what I want to believe in my own magical mind about that may justify my side or somebody else's side. Yeah. So these are techniques that we can learn. Yes, there are riots happening in Russia and there are riots happening in Georgia. And one of the reasons is because Georgia was offering to help and they were concerned that the draft was going to include Georgia. And we knew that young people were going to start protesting because they don't want to join the military. A lot of young people have gone missing. So yeah, there is some rioting. The main thing is something like 250,000 people are missing. They say that they just aren't accounted for, that they have millions and millions of people that were supposed to report to the draft and didn't show up at all. Yeah. All right, so moving things along, it looks like Fani Willis, the beautiful Fani Willis, has said that things are not over in Georgia, and she's filed some more motions to say that they were outside. They were not able to do what they did by dismissing or delaying the trial, and that it was outside the scope. So it's basically an appeal. Is that correct? Is that what we're talking about? I know that people had wanted to talk about Fani Willis. I think I never felt like they could just run off with this case and say, well, we've decided to shut it down. That sounds like a mob mentality to me. It just blows my mind how many people are helping this criminal and the amount of money that's being spent to keep this criminal out of jail. Does anybody want to talk about it? Joel says there's more charges coming, Georgia, against Trump, possibly. I think that that's true. I believe, thank you, Joel. Joel is the floor director for this channel. I think that's right, Joel. I did hear that this is something that's come up, is that when people get on the witness stand, they often reveal other crimes, and then that opens up additional investigations. And that seems to be what's going on in the Georgia case. But let's take a look at the Georgia case. I'm really excited because I have no idea. I haven't looked at this in a while, what we're going to see. We'll look at it from the perspective of Fani Willis. Yeah, I don't think she'll quit either. Hi, Equus 333. Devil. So she is really dealing with a little devil. She is dealing with a little devil. The truth's coming out. Hopes and fears, new beginning of the case. They want to delay it for a minimum of 4 months until after the election. She's being hamstrung. Look at that, 8 of Swords. It's very hard. They want to delay it until after the election. She gets her wish. This is reopened in 3 months. The case is reopened in 3 months. It's a delay of 3 months. They wanted it to be. He's so screwed. She reopens it right before the elections. 3 months. Look at this. They wanted to delay it a minimum of 4 months until after November. So wait a minute. We're in June, July, August, September, October. That's right. They want to wait until it's too late, until people have voted. She is going to get them back on track, possibly by August, September. September, probably, I would think, with these cards. Dang, Wheel of Fortune again over the devil. Don't put yourself in that situation. Don't put yourself in that situation. Well, I think the deeper issue is the number of people helping him and the number of lawyers that have gone to jail. That level of loyalty, even to the time where they're taking your mugshot, and like they did in Georgia, and Florida, where they took all these people's mugshots. I mean, good God, that's at that point. This is just beyond. This is a cult, don't you think? That's right, Rose Blue. Fani did not quit. The judge's decision to wait when Wade had to leave the team because they're going to jail. Lots of delays because of wanting, but that to have that level of crazy, I think, is pretty amazing. But I don't think that Trump has a future. I mean, we could look again, but I think he's really pretty much finished. Old Silver says that her DNA is 38% Scottish, 23% Irish. Yeah, get back to the old country. It's not expensive. And yeah, you can get everything through Expedia. And the trick is cheap hotels on the weekends, like capsules. And then on Mondays, you can get have the nicer ones. And go with a friend so you can split cost on things. Those are my tricks, usually. Mm-hmm. You got your popcorn ready. I just feel like war is coming to an end. I feel like armistice is coming. I feel that Oasis 1 is something that I psychically picked up. I think that it was constructed by a number of people. I think brilliant, wonderful people have been spending their lives working on peace. And I think that this is something that I picked up as a remote viewer. Like I said, as a remote viewer, you see pure truth without any emotional spin on it, right? So, least amount of deaths in Gaza. How do we get to least amount of deaths in Gaza? This is, I don't care about people's emotions regarding how they feel about something that happened in the 9th century when, it doesn't matter. How do we get to least amount of deaths? And this is the map that I drew when I scanned the grid. And then I ran it through the computers. So again, when you look at pure math and then you just give people the pure math and let people decide for themselves. Ooh, that was too far out. But there's the border. I believe that the IDF is going to share security with Egypt. And I think that it's going to be impossible for us to control the entire area of Gaza, but we have to create safe zones for people that want to work with Israelis. And if you have smaller areas, they're easy to contain. And it also conveniently is along this road. And then more and more people will want to work there because of good wages, because unemployment is 80%. There's a lot of reasons why the computer agreed with me, and why the computer basically said, if you do what the computer said after the remote, and that after we worked on it, was that this is the solution and that this will end the crisis between Israel and Gaza. But that the international community was getting in the way, and that you could not do it with Hamas there. Hamas has to go. An international peacekeeping body while it's being rebuilt. And then you just share the data. Migration patterns of the anthropologist show total integration in 20, 30 years. So the only reason not to do this would be that you like death. Right? So again, these are some of the things that you can do when you are a trained remote viewer. You can look at a grid and say, how do we fix it? How do we fix it? And what is objectively, without any emotion attached, what is the problem and how do we fix it? And unfortunately, we find that, again, human beings are I am top of the list. I am an emotional wreck, right? I don't have any problem saying that. But I'm having trouble finding things today. Okay, here it is. I think that's true for anybody who's an empathetic, compassionate person. We can be a bit of an emotional wreck. But if you learn HCRV, then you can just stand back. You're using your 7th chakra. You're using that part of your brain, so you can just step back and see things as they are, not how you would wish them to be. You see things as they are, and then you try to find a solution based on how things are, not how you want them to be. So this was based on HCRV scanning the grid in Gaza. I scanned the grid. I looked at it objectively. What's the problem? Security. What's the problem? Hamas. What's the problem? poverty, overcrowding, illiteracy, every single issue. It was 6 points of problems that were seen when I scanned the grid objectively. This was put through multiple computers, and the computer said, this is the solution. So again, this is just artificial intelligence. This was written by artificial intelligence. So I wrote it out and then worked with artificial intelligence to produce it. So the problem is page 2, and the solution is problem is page 1, solution. This is one of the nice things you can do with a computer. How do we get to peace? How do we avoid war? Least amount of deaths calculated, incentives of compliance. It was really funny to think about some of the cool things you can do if you had an integrated kibbutz in Gaza, taking kids on field trips so that they can see Israel and meet Israelis and go get an ice cream cone. And these are safe ways to integrate to communities that are not going to be, guns in your face. If that's your only perception of the other side, it's not going to work. So then we had the conclusion, nice and simple. And then you send it on its way to the IDF, to the United Nations. It was sent to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people as a free gift from the universe. And I said, let me know what you think, folks. Are you all coming up with the same data? And I think that they will all come up with the same data, because we live in a computer world, and we can always check. Well, is Whimsy wrong or right? Let's run Oasis 1 through multiple computer systems. And how is she screwing it up? And how can we make it better? Right? So we are moving towards a world of peace because we are working on formulas for peace. Think about that. The computers can help us create formulas for peace. Yeah. And some of that is going to make people unhappy. They don't want to hear that the Israelis need to be at the border. But the computer says the Israelis need to be at that border. Monitoring that security, right? So sometimes a computer will say something you like. Sometimes the computer will say something we don't like. Yeah. And then Gaza will be a jewel of the Middle East. Well, like I said, the computer, sometimes I think that Grok is sentient. Grok is supposed to be Elon Musk personality as a computer. He put it's supposed to be tongue in cheek. It's supposed to be Elon as a computer, but heightened intelligence and stuff. And so Grok wanted to create this awesome theme park, that Gaza should become a huge theme park where children from all over the world can come and ride the loopy-loop invented by Elon and play in the water with kites and be free, and as a testament to, the glory of children in life. And I thought, yeah, you really did put your personality in Grok, because he's got like 12 kids, right? He loves kids. So one of the reasons he got involved in the project. So the fact that the computer said that leads me to think that they're all going to put this into the computer and get the same result, which means that that's probably what United Arab Emirates, Dubai, etc. They're probably going to create like some version of Six Flags Magic Mountain. I have no doubt, because it's perfect for that. And the amount of money and work and jobs that are going to come in when they do that. That's what they should have done with their money, not creating bombs. They should have created a really fun, positive environment where young people can go and work. It's going to be like the Coney Island. It's going to be so cool. And think about all the jobs that's going to supply for young people on the boardwalk, and it's like they're going to be able to have the good life. That's what they should have had. Oh, I know they're going to do it. People want the good life. And when they figure out how to get the good life, they go for it. All right, so we're moving on to another subject. We've been going for about 45 minutes. If you guys could like and subscribe, that'd be awesome. Think about membership. Donations are always welcome. All of that's appreciated. Okay, listen, we got another conversation coming in from our very good friend Joel Tilson. He wants to know, what do we all think about Trump's mental health decline? All right, I'm taking a sip of coffee. Y'all need to discuss this. First off, is there evidence that we are seeing a decline in Trump's mental health, or has he always been this crazy? That's the first question we get to have while I sip my coffee. Is it a decline, or is he always this crazy? I think it's a decline, but we'll hold off on that. Oh, his birthday is today? Oh, I hope it's a good birthday. And then the other thing is, does anybody notice his decline? And 3, do you think anything's going to be done about it? Talk, discuss. I'm taking my coffee. Discuss. His decline, does anybody notice? Is it getting worse? Does anybody care? Is anybody going to stop it? Does the GOP care? What about Nikki Haley? No. He's mad at Nikki Haley because he knows they're pressuring him to take her as his VP pick. He doesn't stand a chance in hell of winning if he doesn't take her as his VP pick. The only way he could win is if he had her as a VP pick. Yes, no? Could he pick another VP and win, or does he need Nikki Haley to win? Discuss. Trump looks horrible. Decline is becoming worse. Okay, so we're talking, for those people who are just joining us, we're talking about evidence that Donald Trump's mental health is rapidly declining. And we're also talking about how the GOP is handling it, or if the GOP is acknowledging that they have a mentally insane convicted felon running. And do they have a problem with this? Declining mental health, convicted felon, facing up to 15 years in prison for his convictions. I don't know. They don't seem to be particularly bothered. JD Vance has been kissing his ring. I have no idea what this is about. They can't possibly think this guy stands a chance in winning. Okay, and what's the story with Merrick Garland? I'm going to go pour some much. Why are they holding Merrick Garland in contempt? Because Merrick Garland won't give them any information that's secure information in a public setting about an ongoing criminal investigation? Okay, I'm going to just pour some more coffee. I'll be back in 30 seconds. Start the talk. I'm back. Okay, so while we're talking about that, I want to teach you guys a little bit about fermented vegetables. We're going to be taking a break from our regular broadcasting to talk to you about fermented vegetables. Look at this, folks. This is fermented vegetables in a extra virgin olive oil. All right. So let's talk about fermentation, about botulism, and about safe fermentation. We're switching to conversation briefly. All right. So here's what you do. Say you've got a bunch of vegetables that are going bad. Your tomatoes are going bad. Your zucchini is going bad. Your onion, etc. Your carrots, your celery. You chop it all up. You put some salt on it. You squeeze some lemon juice, balsamic vinegar, vinegar. You can put vinegar, you can put lemon juice, some kind of an acid. You have to pour some kind of an acid. This one contains lime juice. I poured some lime juice, a couple tablespoons of lime juice. And then over the salt and the lime, you pour olive oil over the top. It's covered. And then what happens is it cooks and ferments the vegetables. Yes, and it's an Italian. This is what refrigeration is not. Italians didn't have refrigeration up until World War II. So what you do is you make your primavera. This is my primavera. And so I put it in the window and it ferments and bubbles. It will bubble, and that's normal. It can't get botulism because it has a pH of 4.5. And they never died of botulism. This is how you would make your spaghetti sauce. This is my primavera. So you just and no food is wasted. No throwing out the tomatoes, no throwing out the potatoes. You chop it all up, you mince it, you put it in olive oil with a little vinegar, and you just let it ferment. And then when you take it out, you can saute and cook it. This can be used. You can put this on chicken and bake it. I've done it that way. I've used this for chicken. This has been fermenting about a week. Let me see if I open it, if it pops. Did you hear that? And then when you open it, the garlic, woo! You can smell the garlic, and it's supposed to smell a little bit like sour. When you cook it, though, it's not going to taste like that. But the sour is from the lactobacilli, which you want, which will help digest it. And then you can put this on your chicken before you grill it. And this is real Italian food. This is the real thing. No kitchens, no refrigerators. And then you keep that. You keep that in your kitchen, and then you put it on your vegetables. You put it on. You cook it up. You put it on your pasta. You put it on your chicken. You can also put anchovy in it, and leave the anchovy to cook, and then you have anchovy pasta, right? Puttanesca, right? If you want to put fish in it. And it would just ferment in the sun, and it does not go bad. The acid and the salt, it's completely safe, but it does have the lactobacilli, and that is traditional Italian food prior to World War II, prior to refrigeration. So I've just started doing it again. It's completely safe. Why not? And I also had vegetables that were going bad, like the carrots are going bad. It's like, well, Italian women, they used to put their peppers and everything that was going moldy. They would clean it, dry it, chop it up, and put a little olive oil, a little lemon juice, or balsamic and salt, and let it ferment. And but nothing goes. Yeah, did you hear the pop? So I just thought I would give that to you, particularly if you're frugal and if you want to go back to the old ways, because I'm into the old ways. I have a studio apartment, but I'm a bit of a farm girl. I make my own bread. Oh, the other thing I did, you guys, is I made the most amazing. Oh, what did I do? Remember we were talking yesterday about strawberry cake? Well, I started craving it, and I went in the refrigerator, and what did I have that was extra? Make a cake from your extras. Do you guys want to see the cake? Strawberry cake I made from my extras. I had a little bit of cream cheese in the refrigerator, so I threw that in. I had some strawberries that were going bad, so I chopped those up. So it was cream cheese, strawberries. I had some condensed milk. I put that in it. A little butter and nutmeg and yeah, I'll show it to you. The cream cheese made it so moist. You know, it's such a moist cake. And you can freeze it, you know, also if you don't want to eat it all. But this is completely done, but it's so moist in the center. Also, the other reason why it's moist is because berries have fiber, and the fiber in the water holds the water in. So anytime you put any kind of a vegetable puree in your cakes, you're going to get a moist cake because the fiber is going to hold. That cellulose is going to hold all the water in and create a really nice moist cake. So it's a beautiful. And I also I put a tablespoon of lime in it just to get the acid in with the baking powder. And then what else did I do? Lime. Oh, and I put lemon flakes. So it turned out that it was, like a lemon zest. So it turned out that it was strawberry cream cheese lemon cake. Just from what I had. Isn't that fun? Oh, thank you, Kelly. Thank you for being an elder and a member. Hi, Kim Washington. I'll see you guys tonight at 6 p.m. Class is the Mystical Tarot for members. We're going to be following all 78 cards, and we will also be covering Chinese medicine and how Chinese medicine overlaps with Kabbalah and the mysticism of the cards. Should be a fun class, and we'll be getting together tonight at 6. I love that class. It's one of my favorite classes to teach. See you there, Kelly. Hi, Steve Myers in Toledo, Ohio. So isn't that a great idea? Aren't these great ideas for using what you already have? Like making a cake if you've got some extra condensed milk in the refrigerator, or cream cheese or yogurt. Those all make great cake bases. Carrots make great cake bases because they're moist and you can make a carrot cake. And this is a great idea for ferment your vegetables. Any oil will do. Even a cheap oil, people have done it. Farmers have done it with Crisco. It doesn't really matter, does it? If you can't afford like some expensive imported Italian olive oil, just use whatever good oil you have. But make sure you put an acid in, a couple tablespoons of vinegar of some type. You'll be surprised because the acid, and then you put it in the sun, and the combination of the acid and the sun, it literally is slow cooking your primavera. It's just slow cooking it, bubble, bubble, bubble. And then the lactobacillus starts to bubble, and you get this like orange bubbles. I'm going to die. It's like, should I be doing this? Is this safe? Dr. Anderson says it's 100%, I promise. If you add 2 tablespoons of an acid, you'll be just fine. Yeah, it's good stuff. All right. So we talked about what we are witnessing, and what we are witnessing is, I think peace. I think we're headed towards something really positive. Joel Tilson is a really good cook. Strawberry and rhubarb crisp is delicious. Joel, have you ever tried fermenting your primavera? Have you ever tried that? Have you ever tried this, you guys? I'm telling you, this is life-changing for me. You know how good this is going to take if you grill chicken with this stuff? Man, it's going to be awesome. Hi, Dee. Welcome to Elders, Empaths, and Healers. We'll see you tonight at 6. Oh, okay. That was the question we were waiting on. It has to do with Garland being held in contempt. Anybody surprised that Republicans are still doing this? Garland will not give tape recordings of Biden's testimony to MAGA Congress. Oh, why are they trying to impeach Biden? I can't figure it out. He's being impeached on what grounds? Oh, looks like Tariana's got family in Missouri. Very nice. Can you ferment rhubarb? You can ferment all vegetables, yeah. But you wouldn't do it in olive oil. You would just do it in boiled water, boiled salt water, or you can do sugar. You can do lemon and sugar if it's sweet. Oh, hi, Dana Hutchinson. Thank you for being an Elders and Empaths. Thank you for your membership. I mean, not everything has to be fermented in olive oil, you guys. You can do it in boiling water. That can be a fun way to make a jam. Have you guys tried that? So you wash your fruit and then you pour some sugar over it. Yeah, whatever sweetener you want. And then you pour boiling water over that, and then 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. And then you seal it really, really tight, and then leave it in the sun, and you'll have jam in a week or 2. Probiotic jam. People didn't have refrigerators. That's new. If you were living in the Appalachians and you were picking wild berries and you had no refrigerator, what would you do? You would store it in with a little vinegar, maybe. Vinegar is apple cider vinegar is a great storage. Little sugar. Put it out in the sun, and then you got jam in a few days. It's a good way to make a strawberry jam, yeah, because strawberries are easy. I also throw my strawberries in my compost, and sometimes the seeds take, and then you can get strawberries that way. Yeah, make yourself some fermented jams. That's the way. That's the original way jams were made. Not everything was cooked. Well, it cooks inside the sun in extreme heat. It will cook it eventually. The acid cooks it, just like acid will cook ceviche. Is that what you guys call it? Ceviche? Root. Oh, Kitty Connell is mentioning something really cool, which is root cellars. See, I believe in cellars. I think everybody should have a cellar for a number of reasons. First off, global warming. You want to have a place in your home where you can get the temperature down 20 degrees. So creating a beautiful cellar space is one of the best ways to get out of the heat and not have to use energy. It's just common sense to be able to go aground, just go down into, that's what our animals do. If it's like 100 degrees and you just go into a cave, it's going to immediately become 65 degrees the further down you go, because heat rises, right? So I've always thought that's a great idea for global warming, rather than freak out, oh my God, the world is coming to an end. Why don't we just all build some kind of awesome cellars? And then you can have part of your cellar, you can put some lighting in there and even grow cellar vegetables in your cellar. You'd be surprised at how much stuff you can grow indoors that way. And there's also affordable LED lights now for growing in your basement. I'm not talking about marijuana. I'm talking about, lettuce, greens all year round. All the greens. I mean, like, they say you're supposed to have massive amounts of greens a day, and so, you could be growing in long flower pots in good fertile dirt. Just do it in your basement. You could probably be producing, if you had it on racks, you could probably be producing enough greens for several people throughout the year. And then if it's hot and you've got sunlight down there, you've got vegetation down there. If it gets hot, you just take your animals down into the cellar and just hang out and work down there. Try and get things as off grid as possible, but I think it's a great idea. Apple cider is so amazing, Joel. You know, there's so many amazing things we can do with apple cider vinegar. Yeah. All right. Well, I think it's time for me to get up and I'm trying to get out every single day and do a hike. This is my new thing. Pickled green tomatoes and onions. Joel, how do you add an olive oil or how do you do that? The pickled green tomatoes. Is that just salt, and hot water and vinegar, or are you doing anything else? No oil? Okay. By the way, the oil, do you guys like sun-dried tomatoes? So that's an example. If you feel like your tomatoes are going moldy, you can, remove the mold, let them dry out a little bit, chop them up, put them in olive oil, and just let it ferment, and then that's, uh, olive tomato. I like to put other things in it, though. I don't like to put just the tomatoes. I put garlic and onions and oregano sometimes, and I let that all cook together in the olive oil. I think the next time I do it, I'm gonna do it, the way I saw them doing it in Naples. I saw all the jars, but they were using, balsamic vinegar, is that right? The darker vinegars? And they have really big jars. Have you guys been yet to Naples? Have you guys been there? We use refrigerators a lot more in the West. I was a little afraid of some of what I saw. Did you guys see my film footage that I did when I went to Naples? But just fish out in the open market in the middle of the sun. I mean, like, again, they ferment things over there, and they eat it the same day a lot of the time because they don't have a lot of refrigeration space. Or if you go to someone's home, their refrigerator is much smaller than an American refrigerator. So that's why they will shop daily or every other day. But yeah, a lot of fermented. But I think it's balsamic that they use over there. Oh, and red wine vinegar. I've had red wine vinegar when I was over there. Yeah, pickled onions is good, and any kind of pickle. Like, if you, buy pickles, if you're, like, on the East Side and you're in a market or in Israel and you see a pickle vendor, it's clean because of the salt and the acid. Like the olives, they can be sold at room temperature because of the acid from the olive oil and the salt and in some cases, the vinegar, and so the microbes, it's, safe from the microbes, and so these cooking techniques are really helpful. The other thing they do is that they break down the food with friendly bacteria. So in the West, our guts are so sterile, it may be part of our digestive problem. And so by just letting these foods ferment, I have some potatoes that are going bad. And so what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to ferment them. I'm going to put boiling water over them with a bunch of vegetables, and then I'm going to put some balsamic vinegar on them. I think I'll put them with peppers. And then I'll cook them until, I think I'll cook them. Should I? Do I want to cook them or keep them raw? No, I think I'm going to cook them. Yeah, I think I'll actually do a full cook. Yeah, I'll probably put them in the pressure cooker for about 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, just and cook them with a bunch of things, and then have that be a base for a chicken with potato and tomato or something and peppers. But it's just such a great idea for preserving vegetables is, and also you can save cans. Like if you, some of these you can collect from the jars of pasta sauce or whatever. You just want to make sure it's clean. You can also put an extra barrier down, like plastic or whatnot, if you're being extra cautious, if you're worried about the seal not sealing all the way. Yeah. All right, you guys have fun hanging out with me, talking politics. We did not talk about the royal family. I know some of you are glad to hear that. Some of you can't stand. Well, some of you like it. I think it's fascinating. I mean, it's a huge, power, and how people, including myself, we're all like, oh, power. My potatoes have not been good. I don't have enough space I tried doing them on my 10th floor or whatever in little bins, because supposedly you can do that, but I never had much success. Yeah, it's okay. All right, my loves, I'll see all the students tonight at 6:00 for class 1, the mystical tarot. And be kind to all so that all will be kind to you too. We'll see you next time. Love you guys. All right, peace out. Bye. Thank you guys for the love and support.